Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We start our journey at 4:15 in the morning on our way to the airport to do a fly and drive of a 1988 M5 that my friend purchased. We got the car from a private seller. The car had a lot of service history over the years, but it was definitely going to be an adventure coming back in a car that we didn't know with minimal resources and tools. Sit back, enjoy the ride as we bring this car home. You obviously want to take as many precautions as you can when buying any used car, especially when you have to fly one way on a plane to get one and drive it back 1,100 miles. What makes this trip interesting is the fact that this car has 320,000 miles. It's been well maintained over its life, and there's a stack of service records about an inch thick that came with the car. But as usual, there are going to be some issues that pop up with any used car, especially of this age. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, as we take a ride through the Smoky Mountains to get back to Western New York. First order of business was to make sure that the car was ready for the journey. We put some gas in it, checked the oil and tires, and grabbed some supplies from the local store like a little toolkit just in case we had any mechanical issues. For having 320,000 miles, the interior of the car was actually in relatively good shape. It needed a bit of a cleanup, but overall the leather and all the plastics were in pretty good condition. To make the journey really interesting, we decided to stay off the interstates as much as possible and stick to the local state roads and back roads. One of the highlights of the trip was going to be a drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is a very small, isolated road binding to the Smoky Mountains. Check out this awesome E30 M3. This guy pulled out of a parking lot and was driving behind us for a little while. I have no idea how he didn't notice us or pull up next to us. Once we crossed from Georgia into North Carolina, we decided to take a quick break just to check the car over once more before we entered the Blue Ridge Parkway. I peeked under the hood. Everything looked pretty much okay. The car wasn't really using any oil or anything. There were no leaks, any issues like that. The one thing I did notice is that the throttle cable was a little bit loose. Obviously, this being a drive-by cable car, there's some mechanical adjustment in there, and that's something that's easily taken care of down the road. Also, check out the amazing beverage selection at the local gas station here in North Carolina. I had to pick up one of these glass bottles of Coke. I remember I had these when I was younger and it was pretty cool. Decided to just take one for nostalgia's sake.
Left here?
I guess the best way to describe the Blue Ridge Parkway is kind of like Deal's Gap or the Tail of the Dragon, but about 100 times better. I've driven the Tail of the Dragon before, and a ton of traffic there, very touristy. It's kind of difficult to get your speed up over 30-40 miles an hour. It can be kind of treacherous and dangerous just based on the turns and visibility. The Blue Ridge Parkway was way less traveled. We had a ton of fun in this car. The E28 generation is a super light car. We had a lot of fun throwing it around these back roads. climbed up an elevation about 4,000 feet. We actually started to ascend into the clouds, so the fog came in pretty quickly, and you can see the visibility started to suffer pretty quickly as well. Made it a little more challenging, made it a lot more fun. The road is pretty damp at the edges, just based on the recent hurricane that had come through. And later on, we actually encountered quite a bit of debris on the road, just from leaves, branches, even some fallen trees that had left some debris. Can't hurt.
Frying pan tunnel.
Check out the absolutely horrific sealed beam headlights, that weak little light they throw. Definitely makes you wonder how more people didn't die back in the day.
Can always go down that lot to do work because there's nothing down there. We prefer.
Or even down at the far end there.
Yeah.
As a northerner, I was completely stunned to see one of these GMT 800 Tahoes with no rust on the frame. Check out how clean this thing is. We really never see these up north anymore.
It's already got a chip on it.
Uh-oh. At the top?
Yeah,
Someone tried to shove it in?
probably. Someone doing what we're trying to do.
In a parking lot?
There's another washer.
My friend who purchased the car had shipped down a spare ignition parts, cap, rotor, wires, that kind of thing. The car wasn't running poorly, but we did notice a bit of a miss during cruising, especially at idle. And we figured, why not pull over, take a break from the road, and swap out some of the parts. As you can see, the old cap and rotor were pretty beat up. A lot of the points had a lot of corrosion on them, and the cap itself had a pretty big chunk of plastic missing out of it. So fan shroud's back on,
Yeah.
coils. What else do we take apart? Cap, rotor, right?
Yeah, that should be it.
You tighten out, did you torque these? No.
No, they're just finger tight.
Didn't need to do these.
1, 2,
Tighten until you hear a crack and then back off quarter turn.
3. let's see. Let's let it cycle. Oh, it's not open. Yeah, it's open. When it cycles, it goes into yellow.
After driving for a while, I realized the AC was kind of marginal. It really wasn't blowing that cold. Pretty warm, to be honest. We tried putting a can of refrigerant in it. That didn't really help. It looked like the system had already a decent charge. This actually ended up being a dirty battery connection at the terminal, so we cleaned that up after we got back home, and the car was blowing pretty cold again. Looking over the system, though, the AC belt looked a little worse for the wear. Obviously, there was some loose play here, and what looked like actually a chunk missing out of the belt. So, definitely some room for improvement when it comes to the AC system.
Yeah.
We originally planned on stopping in Asheville, North Carolina for some dinner and beers, but with the rain coming in after the remnants of the hurricane, we decided to just bomb through and get to our next destination of Danville, Virginia. The last thing we did for the evening was stop and fill up the car with gas at a Sheetz gas station. I don't know why they were playing James Brown pretty late at night on Thursday, but it made for a pretty awesome vibe, and I was just loving it watching the car under the lights. After a pretty decent hotel breakfast the next morning, we checked out a friend's shop, Party Racing, in Danville, Virginia. These guys specialize in S54, S62 rebuilds, really a one-stop shop for race car fabrication and anything the BMW enthusiast would like to enjoy. Pretty awesome shop. I just enjoyed drooling over E60s, E46s, even some of the newer F-chassis generation stuff was pretty awesome.
You know, to just engine work.
See a touring back there?
Back at the Blue Ridge Parkway, the road was pretty littered with remnants of the hurricane. There were tons of branches and leaves all over the road. We actually had one rogue branch, about 2 inches in diameter, jump up and whack the side of the car. We had some bark and wood jammed in weather stripping, and it was kind of funny to see afterwards the damage that it had done. We probably put on a total of about 100 miles on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and out of the entire journey on that road, we were really only stuck behind one car, this little Ford van, which was moving pretty decently at a good clip. I wasn't a fan of how some cars cross the double yellow to make the route a little shorter. This is really more prevalent on the Tail of the Dragon, but we did notice it a couple times here on the Blue Ridge Parkway as well. For the most part, excellent road, safe, scenic, really fun. Definitely going to be coming back with a different car someday. We wrapped up day 2 by stopping at a friend's shop in Maryland. This is a gentleman who parts out E39 M5s. He's been doing it for a long time. You may know him as Clemster from M5 board. We ended up picking up a E39 M5 transmission, a couple axles, a few odds and ends, and it all surprisingly fit in the trunk of the E28. So very useful vehicle, pretty decent cargo space in the back. A bit of an odd location for the battery right there in the corner, as well as the spare tire well, which is distinctly set off to the side. I think we've become used to having the spare tire centered, so it's kind of odd to look back at the 80s stuff and realize just how weird things were back then. I was getting pretty fed up with the lack of air conditioning at this point. Decided to peek under the hood and just see if there was any major issues with the belt, either being not tensioned enough. I actually noticed that there was a chunk missing there on the belt, and there was a pretty distinct lack of tension. So it was cooling down in the evenings. We just decided to open the windows and run it, get to the hotel, enjoy a nice sunset, and call it a day.
Yeah, we're not gonna work on it.
Love it, man. Day 3 ended up being one of my favorite days of the trip. It was a short day. We ended up getting back to Buffalo around 1 o'clock. I really enjoyed the Pennsylvania hills, the really smoky morning with the fog there, which slowly burned off as the sun came up. It was just a very quiet, peaceful ride on the highway, along with some state highways on the back roads. Overall, the trip went excellent. We really had no mechanical issues. I was really impressed with the little E28 that could. For having 320,000 miles, the thing just really held up and gave us a great trip. The owner plans to drive this car. There's going to be some minor mechanical restoration and cleanup, as you would expect in a car of this age, but ultimately it's a driver. So I would like to thank my friend Tim for hosting me on this trip. He's got an awesome YouTube channel where he showcases his collection of E39 M5s. Recently he's been working on a track car, which is a gutted E39. Awesome build. Go check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. Thanks for joining me on this journey as we road trip this E28 M5 back home. If you liked the video, you'd like to see more content like this, please give me a like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. I really enjoyed making this video. It was my first road trip in a very long time, and I hope to make more like this soon. Thank you so very much for watching. See you next time.